One of the most well-known line-crossing experiments is the monster study. It's not called the monster study because it involves any monsters, but it did threaten to ruin the reputation of the psychologists behind it. The idea was so scary to fellow psychologists that the results were hidden away for years. What is the monster study? The monster study was conducted by Dr. Wendell Johnson. Johnson was a speech pathologist and he wanted to know more about why children developed a stutter. He developed the monster study to see if stuttering was not the result of biology, but of learned behavior. Dr. Johnson conducted the monster study back in 1936 at the University of Iowa. Ethics were not prioritized as they are now in psychology and scientific experiments. If this experiment had been proposed today, the researcher may have been stopped before they could begin. Let's get into what the monster study actually is. Johnson chose 22 orphans as participants for the monster study. Some of the orphans had a stutter. It is not uncommon for young children to have a stutter and then naturally get over the stutter without treatment. Some of the orphans didn't have a stutter. The orphans were split up into two groups, with stutterers and non-stutterers in both groups. One of these groups was labeled normal speakers, the other was labeled stutterers. Throughout the course of the experiment, the children were treated as such. Johnson's team met with the children every few weeks for 5 months to evaluate their speech. Children in the normal group were praised for their ability to speak well, even if they were actually stuttering or had problems speaking. Children in the stuttering group were told that they spoke poorly. They were told things like, "You must try to stop yourself immediately. Don't ever speak unless you can do it right." So what happened? The children who were labeled normal weren't affected much by the researchers' praise. They saw improvement in only one child. Children in the stuttering group fared a lot worse. Remember, not all of these children actually had a stutter. They were just told that they had a stutter. Of the 6 children that were falsely chastised for their speech, 5 developed speech problems. Reports show that these children became withdrawn and some stopped speaking altogether. These children were as young as 5 years old. The study was created with good intentions. Johnson and his colleagues at the University of Iowa frequently conducted studies on themselves and willing adult subjects in the name of finding a cure for stuttering. But other colleagues worried that the use of orphans was crossing lines. Johnson wasn't the only person conducting studies on marginalized groups in the name of science. Nazis were doing the same thing over in Germany. So the results of the study were never published. Even